Heyo! It's time to look alive because you are now tuned in to a brand spanking new Monday Night Live, aka the Hangout stream, but also known as the Chill stream, baby. For June 27th, 2022, brought to you by yours truly, the man, broadcasting from behind the curtain. You know who I am. Because if you don't know by now, you can visit www.livefreeliverich.com or simply Google this name and you can find out. Now, for those of you who already know, welcome to the show. Go ahead, drop me a comment, say hello. Like I always say, there's no need to be shy. I just like to know who took the time to stop by. And for the rest of you who don't know, because perhaps you're new, that's okay too, because I'm going to go ahead and break it down for you. It goes like this. As far as I'm concerned, this is your show, and I'm just here to play producer. So what I mean by that is I come on here 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 6 p.m. Pacific every Monday night. And I load up this live stream so we all can come together, readers and writers alike. And you guys supply me with things to talk about. And in return, I fulfill my role and raise awareness for various projects from around the underground scene. I get to become acquainted with you guys get to know me, and together we discover what's going down within the realm of independent publishing. Which brings me right into my first segment of the night, where I like to shine a spotlight on books that are currently available or coming soon to an online store near you. So coming in hot from Twitter, we've got Grady P. Brown. You guys don't recognize the name Grady. He was I featured a book from him in one of the earlier episodes of the Monday Night Live stream. It reminded me of like I'll get into it in just a minute, but he says for this week, he says, my new fantasy books are now available for pre-order on Amazon Kindle Book. He says, an exiled prince, his 6 wives, and dragon must unite a divided empire against a horde of invading monsters. All right, that's coming from Grady P. Brown. Grady P. Brown, the last book that I covered by him, it was like, it kind of was giving me like almost like a Jurassic Park-esque vibes, just with more autism. And I suspected a little bit of social justice sprinkled in there. So what I did is I went ahead, being the guy that I am, I went ahead and added that book to my TBR because I'm not the type of person where I see a book and I feel a certain way about it and I want to be intellectually lazy and just start talking trash or talking trash about a book on over social media, especially when I haven't even read the book. I feel like social media can be toxic in that way sometimes, where people they get too wrapped up in these cliques online, and then what happens is a member of one of these cliques will catch a hair across their ass one day, and they'll decide to just, like, something rubs them the wrong way, so they got to start, they feel it's their personal duty to just start blindly talking trash about an artist's work when they themselves didn't even put in the footwork to, like, figure out what it is that they're actually talking about. Whereas I always prefer to take the more proactive approach and appreciate the market that I also contribute to in a positive way. And what I'll do is I'll put my money, my own money, where my mouth is, and I'll buy the book that I may feel a certain way about. And I will, whether it be negative or positive, and I will actually sit down and take the time to read the material. And then I'll reflect upon my own thoughts, think for myself. I know that's a revolutionary idea. That's a dangerous concept nowadays, huh? Thinking for oneself. But surprise, surprise, I'm not a part of the Borg hive mind. I'll think for myself and then formulate my own opinion in the form of a written editorial piece that I then publish, which then adds to the enriching the culture of the independent scene. That's how you do it. You don't, if you guys want to hear more of my opinions on this particular subject, because I just feel like there's so much to talk about in that, as far as that aspect goes, then you can check out my video entitled "Am I Under the Influence?", where I was addressing a situation that went down exactly as I just explained. So let's see, because the thing about it is, I feel like there's just a lot of people on social media, in the writing community specifically, that still seem to have an issue with being able to separate the art from the artist. And the thing about it is, whenever I write an editorial, even if I take liberty to shit all over a book in my editorial, because I took my time and actually invested it into the product itself, and reflecting upon those thoughts, which in my eyes justifies my opinion, to be able to voice my opinion. Even if I'm doing that, it's still appreciating the market, because A, I bought the book, B, I took the time, actually read the book, and then C, I produced something that contributes to enriching the culture, whether, in other words, through giving value to, like, the purpose of blogging, the purpose of playing the role of critic and going out there and being proactive and actually involved, opposed to just being an intellectually lazy individual and just jumping on bandwagons to basically for the purpose of what is glorified character assassination. But I digress. I will, even if I shit on a piece of work, it's just one piece of work. I do not attribute that to the author themselves. As far as I'm concerned, it's my opinion on a piece of work is none of the author's concern, because I'm talking about the work and not the author. The author themselves, they're always capable, because I feel like the author is always capable of coming up with new works. So it doesn't matter. Their work could change from one piece to the next. The author's book, one book by an author could be completely different from another book by an author. Being a multi-genre / literary author myself, this is what I understand to be factual. So you guys, if you want to check out that video, it's on my channel. And let's see what else. Let's see what new piece of work Grady P. Brown is up to now. All right, we have he's stepping into the realm of fantasy with his new title. This one, as of the recording of this, or as of this live stream, this book is on pre-order. Stepping into the realm of fantasy on this one with Dawn of the Dark Ice, The Dark Ice Winter, Book 1 by Grady P. Brown. Let's see what this one's about. Here's the blurb. After a bloody civil war, the Empire of Gradaya is about to gain some much-needed peace and stability. This peace will be sealed by the arranged marriage between High Prince Votum Magnus and 6 noble women from the most powerful and influential houses in the empire. However, both the brides and groom are plagued with doubts about their union. Meanwhile, a dark, inhuman threat is slowly creeping into the empire and could spell the doom of the known world. That is Dawn of the Dark Ice by Grady P. Brown. Coming soon to Amazon and Kindle Unlimited. It's set for release on August 21st, 2022. All right. If you guys have a book on the market, as always, that's all I need is the title of the book and the pen name of the author. You can just go ahead, comment that on this during the live stream, or if you want to watch this, play this back on the replay or the video on demand and leave a comment that way, you could do that, or anytime I'm on social media. Get in contact with me that way and just share a link. Like this one here on Twitter. I got a lot from Twitter. This one comes from Jesse Seth Frankel. Frankel, he's coming in again. We've covered Frankel before on the Monday night live stream. Another 2-time contributor. Frankel writes, a way station in space, a young, inexperienced captain, forbidden cargo in the form of an alien, and a galaxy that must be protected at all costs. Take a trip with Port Anywhere. You won't want to come back. All right. Got a little space sci-fi action going on here, sounds like. Let's check it out. Frankel. Port Anywhere by J.S. Frankel. From exciting author of YA fiction, J.S. Frankel. A restaurant in space, a way station for all those who need a meal. When one of the guests turns out to be Forbidden Cargo, Everything Changes. Rick Granger, 17, is the sole human occupant of Port Anywhere, a floating restaurant in space. His parents are dead, and he is aided by an alien called Nerfer, a pink alien that looks a lot like Spam. They journey throughout the galaxy, making a precarious living by offering meals in exchange for whatever their alien guests can pay. As well, Port Anywhere, while powered by ion engines, has one unusual feature. It can suddenly jump from place to place, although Rick doesn't know why. It simply happens. His mundane existence changes when a warlike group of aliens led by a man named Kulita ask Rick to guard a possession of theirs. Upon further examination, Rick finds out that the cargo is a young alien woman named Merlini from a planet called Kajakia, who carries a secret inside her, a mini galaxy. The tiny galaxy was placed inside Merlini by her father, a genius scientist, in order to hide it from hostile forces. As Port Anywhere continues its journey, Rick finds himself falling for Merlini, and he will not give her up. When Port Anywhere shifts to various galaxies with various aliens in pursuit, they manage to escape time and time again. But there comes a time for the inevitable showdown, and Rick has to use all his wits in order to save Merlini and solve the riddle of the power she carries inside her. That is Port Anywhere from J.S. Frankel. I have to say, Frankel, if you guys aren't familiar with Frankel, he's quite frequent his name pops up quite frequently in the Twitter writing community. You guys check out some of his work. He comes up with some very interesting ideas, to say the least, for books. He has a very unique type of style, I have to say, from what I've seen. Okay, moving right along. Another one coming in hot. I don't know if it's hot, but we'll find out. Spice, a little bit of spice coming from Twitter. This comes from Charles Frankhauser. He just has a reply. He says, strong woman goes free, 20 through the 21st, 25th of May. I mean, we're past that point now, but we're going to go ahead and check it out nonetheless. This one is called FBI Temporary Agent. It's a romantic comedy, a first for the live stream, a rom-com. Any of you ladies out there enjoy a little rom-com action? Or perhaps some of you fellas. Let's check it out. Charles Frankhauser. I don't know if that's a pen name. Oh no, it's a gentleman. A gentleman writing rom-coms. This is appears to be right on the cusp. I think it's a longer short story coming in at about 52 pages. Let's see what this one's about. just so you can get a quick look at the full cover there before I cover it up again. All right. FBI Temporary Agent, a romantic comedy, rom-com, by Charles Frankhauser. Here's the blurb. When FBI Special Agent Belinda Sue Jones sits on a bench in New York City Central Park waiting for a person of interest to awaken after an all-night bachelor party, they experience an accident that changes their lives. Postage stamp collectors complain to the FBI that tags are being illegally removed from mattresses, causing stiff competition from mattress tag collectors. Trading mattresses with the tags attached is legal. Trading detached tags is illegal. An investigation uncovers several illegal operations run by a mastermind by the name of Birdseed Lily. So a little bit seems a little bit of a spoofy kind of story. Like I say, short story, 52 pages, quick read, probably about a 45-minute read, give or take. And you can read it for free on Kindle Unlimited. FBI Temporary Agent, a romantic comedy by Charles Frankhauser. Thank you for contributing to the live stream, sir. Happy to have you. Anytime you have a book coming out on the market, it doesn't have to be currently available like we've seen. I'll mention pre-orders as well. And this could kind of be a way that you could generate a little bit of a buzz for whatever upcoming release you may have coming to the market. All right, we have one more book mention on here, and then we're going to jump into the next segment. This one comes from a Twitter user by the name of Urickson. He writes, for my sins, I've written a light science fiction novel about a princess who arrives to an auction on a distant planetoid only to discover she's the main item on sale. Hey now. For some reason, it's also got dinosaurs and killing trees. All right. Well, let's check it out. Urickson. Mr. Urickson. This is his book, Noblesse Oblige, by Yuri Kurlianchik. Yuri Kurlianchik. All right, there's the cover. I like the artwork on that cover. It does kind of pop. Although I am interested to know why there's a, he did mention dinosaurs, so I guess that explains the random the raptor claw that kind of looks a little bit out of place on the cover. But other than that, the rest of it looks pretty cool, I have to say. Let's check out the blurb, shall we? Noblesse Oblige by Yuri Kurlianchik. In a universe where corporate scions hold aristocratic titles and wield absolute power, a young princess embarks on a mission of mercy to find a new home for the refugees created by her father's many wars. To her dismay, an invitation to an isolated planetoid that could serve as the perfect home for the poor exiles turns out to be a ploy by the infamous Baron von Schmidt to add yet another outrage to his repertoire. What starts as an exclusive party in her honor is soon revealed to be something far more sinister, a depraved auction where the item on sale is Her Royal Highness, and the bidders are who's who of the galaxy's worst scoundrels. With only enemies in sight and no way to call for help, the young princess has no choice but to rescue herself. This will not be easy. Her foes include a Chinese space pirate, a young Russian duelist, a high-tech samurai, a Venetian mafiosi, two expert French poisoners recently returned from the horror vacui, a floating Swiss banker of unimaginable wealth, and a British gentleman who also happens to be a pterodactyl. Her arsenal consists of vague memories from classes she mostly slept through, a pile of gadgets from which she's never read the user manual, and a ferret. Because why not? Animal companions, right? This book comes in at 262 pages. I just wanted to scroll down and see what Amazon had it categorized under. And we have space fleet science fiction and space opera science fiction. I could see a little bit of space opera out of that, even though this one also comes off as quite spoofy. A little bit, maybe a little bit. What is it? I don't want to say silly. There's a word for it, and it just escapes my mind for some reason. This always happens when I go live. You know, I'll want to say something, and then for whatever reason, the words just slip my mind while I'm live, and you know, I can't really make my point it come off in a cogent way, in such a cogent way. And then as soon as I go off the live stream, then suddenly all the words come back to me. So maybe it's just something about being live on camera. It just messes with your head a little bit. But that's the books for this week, the spotlights at least. Now we're going to move on to some announcements. So announcements, project announcements. In this segment, basically, get a sip of water here. In this segment of the live stream, I share, I make various like special announcements or project announcements that may have to do with the Live Free, Live Rich brand, or have to do with projects that you guys have working on, that you're working on. And this could include, and it's not just regulated to literary works. Like this could be like, it could include like independent film, screenplays, that type of stuff, projects of that nature. Also, not just books, but it could be comic books, like not just literature, but also like comic books. So we've covered comic books here on the show before, and we're going to be doing more of that tonight, actually. And also not just creative projects, but also it could be reading events. too. Like if you're on Booktube and you host a read along, you're hosting a read along or a readathon event, and say you've had, even if you've done like a video, say if you've done a video to announce that event, I'd be willing to play that video on the live stream, and and make any type of like commentary or something like that, give my 2 cents or whatever on that, and just share it with my audience, see if I can't help raise a little bit of awareness. And this is how, we build, this is how, just my way of interacting with the community. And this is how I feel like this is kind of like how how I can interact with people that I otherwise would kind of just label as strangers, you know what I mean? But we can kind of like get to know one another, or at least become acquainted with one another in that way. Another is, and then I'll give some more examples as I'll jump right into it and get some more examples. But for tonight, we have a few. I'll just keep things moving right along here. This first one comes from an acquaintance of mine by the name of, I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce it. I've been pronouncing it Egao Chan. And Egao Chan writes, my debut novel, Zanshi In, is a contemporary Eastern style modern fantasy. If you'd like a free copy on Kindle, just DM me your email. Also, there's a free version on Royal Roads. So he wanted to make you guys aware of that. This book that he has written, and he's looking to build, it seems like he's looking to build a little bit of a readership for that book. And he's willing to give you a free copy of the book if you're interested. So I'm going to go ahead, see what the deal is with this book, do him a solid, and I'm going to see what this book is all about. Let's do some bonus coverage, shall we? Zanshi In by Egao Chan. Egao Chan. You'll have to correct me if you watch this, Chan, or if you see this the highlight post on Twitter, you'll have to give me the scoop on your name. I say I am acquainted with Mr. Chan because he is one of the newest residents of the Storyteller of the Hotel del SS and member of the Storytellers Society. I'll be bringing that up in a little bit here. It is relevant to what I'm going to what I have to say here. All right, there's the cover. Let me zoom out a little bit on that. There we go. That's better. All right, here's the blurb. When cultivation master Jianmen Yu tried to go home by breaking through the boundaries between worlds, he accidentally landed here. A place very similar to home he tried to go back to, but also quite different in many aspects. To prepare for another jump, he decided he should do what he used to do, start a friendly and humble local inn, and take in a few students so that they will be of help to him in the future. Tempted by the offers of free food and board, young Caroline and Jason started working at Zenshi Inn as students of the esoteric owner. Little did they know, they were in for a wild ride into a world of paranormal entities, enemies and friends of superpowers and magical abilities, of which they were blissfully unaware. And that is Zenshi Inn by Egao Chan. Now this is what I wanted to talk about as far as this book goes. One thing I did notice is that the book is just available in ebook as of right now. And the print, Amazon has the print length. At first, I thought this was an error on Amazon's part. Then I looked into the sample, and the sample size, because when you click on the books on Kindle, most of you know you're going to get a sample of the book. So you can kind of get a feel for like the formatting and whatnot. But the sample size on this book went all the way up to like, I don't know, something crazy like chapter 45 or something like that. So it's got to be accurate. Whereas Amazon said the print length of this book comes in at a staggering 2,546 pages. Now, Chan, I have to say, you've got balls, man. I admire your cojones, if you will, to exercise your right and take creative license as an artist and see your own individual vision all the way through. Now, with that being said, you knew there was going to be a but I have to ask, what was your intention here? Because clearly, you know, with your announcement, you're looking for readership, okay? Because most people, when they put something out on the public market, they want people to see it. They want people to read it. And now, I think there was something on here. Oh yeah, it was on your Royal Roads website. Let me see. Let me check real quick. So I don't want to give the wrong information here. I don't want to give misleading information. You guys can. Let me just check this out. I don't know. See, I don't remember where did I read that? I thought you said somewhere that this was your debut novel. And if that's the case, now there's a couple things. So I say you're looking for readership, right? And I just want to share, you know, some information, you know, for one writer to another, but not just one writer to another in terms of, say, perhaps marketing, not necessarily in sales, but in terms of marketing and branding yourself. And also as a reader, a potential reader, you know, of your material. I say, you are asking, you're making a huge ask, your expectation, you're asking a huge commitment of the reader twofold in that aspect, not only in the length of the book, because the artist in me kind of applauds you to say, you know, that's great that you know, it's interesting to me that you have a book that's 2,500 pages long. Now, the thing about it is 2,500 pages long. I'm also thinking to myself, now, is this one book? Is this just one book? Because it looks, the way that you're presenting it, it looks like one book. This is all one book. All the material, the content is all one novel. But the length of it, like, I respect you in terms of saying, basically flipping off the status quo and the standard and just going ahead and doing your thing and exercising your creative license. You're right to do so. But the marketing, the businessman side of me, like the marketing aspect of it, is also thinking to myself, just because you can do something, should you do something? And if it's a matter of should, well, now it comes down to intent. What's your intention? What was your purpose behind the product? You put something out on the market and you're going to want someone to read it. Well, you got to at least have an understanding of what makes something marketable. And this, to me, this specific book comes off as what I would call a very hard sell, because of how much of a commitment you're asking of the reader, of the consumer. So not only in page length, because what you have here is not so much just a novel, the length of a novel, but this is actually one book that takes up the length of what would effectively be the length of an entire trilogy. So this is like 3 books in one. If that's the case, if it actually is 3 books, or if you were to edit it in such a way that it would be 3 books, you could still release it as one product. Because I bought what was marketed as a digital box set by a writer from my home state, and I thought it was an interesting idea. The idea of a digital box set. It was an interesting idea. I didn't say it was a good idea. There's a difference. It was interesting, and I purchased the box set. And now that I've taken more time and gotten to know, what the digital market is like in terms of what people are interested in, how people consume product, how the consumer, make moves within the marketplace, I can honestly say that it's probably not the best idea to release products in such a way where it's all, you're in other words, I feel like you're kind of selling yourself short as an artist and as a writer when you release a product in such a way that it's actually better to, especially in this day and age with everyone's attention spans getting shorter and shorter and shorter, I think that even it's better to release writing in shorter formats. Not to say that there's anything wrong with doing like a novel still, you writing a novel, or even if it's a long novel, like say like anywhere from like fantasy novels go anywhere from like high fantasy novels and stuff like that, series can go anywhere as high as like 800 to over 1,000 pages for one book. And that's still considered standard, within the range of being standard. I would still think that it's not only that, but also the fact that you somewhere, I forget where, but you mentioned that this was like a debut release. So a debut, I will say, I've done it. So it's not to say that you can't do it. You can do whatever you want. But in terms of, you always have, like, I feel like if you're going to want to try and build a readership, you do have to have marketability. Now, don't mistake sales with marketability. Marketability and sales are 2 different things. They can, if your marketing is on point, yes, there's the possibility that it leads to sales. But marketability in it and of itself is mutually is its own thing, separate from sales, in the sense of branding. How do you want to present your name? How do you want your name to be recognized within the market? So in other words, it could be like a brand name or your own author name or pen name. How do you, when people hear that name, what kind of things do you want to come to mind when they hear that name? Do you want, so when you say, okay, you just have a debut novel, for me, it's like if someone's just, I would say if you're a new writer or an aspiring writer and you're working on a big project, you're working on a novel, okay, which is a very big undertaking to do a complete a novel, which could be on average on the shorter end would be at least about 200 pages on the shorter end, but on average probably more like around 300 pages, a little over maybe 350 pages. And that's across most genres, then you would probably want to at least establish a little bit of some name recognition beforehand. Because I feel like there are some indie writers out there, they go big right out the gate and they don't really know a lot. They either A, they don't really know a lot about the market. B, they don't really know a lot about the process. And this isn't just me talking. You can go ahead and just type in Authortube on YouTube, and you'll see authors out there that will tell you that have been in the market for even longer than I have, and they say the same thing. And where the artists will bite off more than they can chew on their first project. I can take this off now because I'm kind of going off on a tangent here. But my suggestion to aspiring writers out there, even if you want your first project to be a novel, because you're an artist, you can do whatever you want. This isn't you should do this, you should do that. My suggestion is try to create a little bit of name recognition beforehand and I suggest some shorter pieces. And this is what I wish that I would have done from the get-go, even though I still somewhat understood what I was doing because of my having some experience in marketing in terms of how to build a brand from the ground up. And release some shorter pieces, maybe do some collaborations. For instance, that's why I brought up Storytellers Society, because Mr. Chan it has released some shorter pieces. So you can go on to the Storytellers Society. He's located in room 35, and you can read a short sampling of his work. If it interests you, I thought it was I did think it was very interesting, action-packed, and he does seem to be interested in the same type of occult-ish type of content or material that I'm also a fan of. So it might be worth looking into, but that type of stuff, shorter pieces that will build a little bit of name recognition before you put all your eggs in one basket. Because the reason why I say this is because I know that there would be artists out there that you put so much time, energy, and effort into a big project like a novel, and God forbid you spend a lot of money on top of that in terms of getting cover art, which I don't think is as big of a deal as a lot of people out here would have you believe. But that could be a video for another time. But anyways, spending a lot of money on cover art, spending a lot of money on formatting, because perhaps you haven't acquired a little bit of that will on yourself. That's another thing where I would suggest you take the time to build up your skill set that will help you in application of the whole process of publishing for yourself or becoming indie publisher. Or else you could connect with small presses or indie press and jump in on anthologies or something like that. And then you just have, all you got to do is know how to format your Word documents properly for submissions, and submit some pieces. And it doesn't even have to be for anthologies. It could be for simple, like, for instance, like with blogs and stuff like that. I'm still out here searching for more opportunities for myself in that aspect, where I want to collaborate with other creators in that sense. And I want to contribute some flash fiction stories to other people's blogs. So if you guys have a blog that you run and you publish short fiction, flash fiction pieces from third parties, then get in contact with me. Reach out to me on social media. If you're seeing this, drop me a link, and I'll not only will I look into it for my own personal reasons, I'll also give you your blog a shout out on the live stream. But that's my suggestion. Just keep in mind, anytime you take on a new project, if you're going to be putting it out into the public sphere and putting it on the market, you should be taking into consideration the marketability of that piece of work, artistic reasons aside. Because if that is your goal, is readership. If that isn't your goal, is readership, or you don't care about sales whatsoever, then obviously you have creative license to do whatever you want within the boundaries of whatever vendor you're going to be doing business with, whether it be Amazon Kindle or Lulu or whatever distribution source, whatever their personal requirements are. All right, let's go into the next one. We have, if you guys, another announcement that you could have during the live stream is fundraiser announcements. So if you guys, this is something I might be getting involved with at a later date as well, and that is fundraisers. So tonight we have a Kickstarter. We've covered Indiegogo on here as well. And tonight we have a Kickstarter project called Torch, Reclaim the Skies. It's by AJ Rojek. Shout out from Twitter. He says, thanks for the lift. I hope you'll give my Kickstarter a look. And I most certainly will, AJ. Let's check it out. Oh, and I think we do have video on this one. So we do have some video on this one. So let me just plug in the headphones real quick. We'll check that out. I forgot about that when I was doing my prep. All right. All right, so this is a Kickstarter project for a comic book series entitled Torch, Reclaim the Skies. This is for issue 1 and 2 of Kickstarter. Let's check this out. Hold on, let me see. Maybe I'll do it like this. And we'll check it out this way. First things first, let's check out this video.
Hi, my name's AJ Rojek, and I'm the writer and creator of Torch Reclaim the Skies. Last year, I took a chance and released issue 1 on Kickstarter in hopes of realizing my dream to become a comic book writer.
The reason for this Kickstarter is because I wanted to know if I could do it.
Not only did we successfully fund in 7 hours, we went 350% our funding goal and got a Projects We Love tag. Whoa. The community stepped up in a big way, and now Torch's story continues. By the way, if you're new to the series, now is the perfect time to jump on board, as I am re-releasing issue 1 as well. This series follows Torch Armstrong, a kid prodigy star pilot who is forcibly retired from the military. Now older and bored, Torch misses that adrenaline rush. In issue 1, she hit a breaking point, and now in issue 2, she faces the consequences. This series explores themes of nostalgia, depression, and yearning for better days. It's a rich sci-fi story full of mystery, action, and adventure. With your backing, I can continue and eventually bring this story to a satisfying conclusion. The campaign rewards are awesome, with variant covers, foil covers, cosplay shirts, and more. Tons of stretch goals and bonus missions as well. Check out the page below to learn more.
Bonus missions?
Please be sure to share this page. Every retweet is a huge help. Thanks again, and as always, look to the stars.
I have to say, some of these fundraiser campaigns are pretty creative. Like the campaign itself is pretty creative in the way that they present these products, or they present these projects, and how the users can get involved. That's pretty cool. So this project, there's 10 days to go on this project. They've already reached their goal. They're over their goal. Their goal was only 2,000. As you can see. Their goal is only 2,000. They've already raised over $3,000 on this one. 10 days to go on this. You guys want to get involved on this project? Let's see what we got here. So this is what I wanted to see, these missions. What he called missions. So there's different pledge amounts in the rewards. You guys are familiar with that type of stuff, the different tiers for based on what you pledge. What are these missions? So missions are basically like having stretch goals, but it's based on the number of backers, it looks like. So that's interesting. So you have this is the first time that I've seen a project that incorporates the number of backers too. So based on the number of backers, there could be some more special rewards or things that get unlocked as far as this project goes. And then they have their stretch goals, which of course are based on the amount of money that is raised for the project. So let's check out the story, shall we? What's the story of this comic book? It says, Torch flew upwards, hands outstretched, and grasped for the stars. As she stared at the inky skies, her brother Spark glanced at her. It was then he knew that this sorry life was killing her on the inside. He knew they had to break free and feel the rush that an infinite number of galaxies had to offer. They had to run and run wild. The adventure continues After the exciting conclusion to issue 1, our rebels Torch and Spark Armstrong decide to break free and live as interstellar fugitives, all in a bid to quench Torch's thirst for adrenaline. Adrenaline junkie. There's just one problem. How the heck are they going to get off this planet? Torch, Reclaim the Skies is a story about depression, nostalgia, and the lengths that a person will go to break out of that, quote, rut. As an ex-pilot prodigy and adrenaline junkie, it's no surprise our Torch Armstrong takes things to the extreme. We've all felt the urge to break out of that rut and find an adventure outside of the norm. After she was forced to retire as a teenager, Torch feels this itch especially. Issue 2 introduces new characters and evolving backstories. The story also explores Torch's past in the most unconventional way. Plus, we learn more clues about the game-changing mystery revealed on the last page of issue 1. So is it something about... Now, here's some info about the campaign. So Torch and Spark have made their decision. So what will they do next? This is the exciting continuation of the next great sci-fi epic. By backing this campaign, you will be helping maintain this ongoing series. Issue number 1 and 2 are 2 fully colored 24-page comic books with amazing art by Red Verrill and Tom Hoskison, and colors from Daniela Barrison. Back this project to add issue 2 to your collection. This is also the perfect time for new readers to dive in. And he says, why this story? My original reasons remain true. I wrote Torch years ago and tucked it away. I later realized that I was living in fear of failure and decided to dust off this script and produce this book, and finally achieve my goal of being a comic book writer. Torch's story is one of depression, nostalgia, and yearning for better days. This message resonated with backers, and the first issue was funded in just 7 hours, as he said in the video. So a lot of this is he's recapping what he said in the video here. Here's a preview, the first 5 pages of issue 2. And I wanted to say this, I don't know if this is a villain, anti-hero, or what. It looks like an antagonist. Are you prepared to make a deal with the devil? Perhaps this is a anti-hero type character, maybe a morally gray antagonist type character. I don't know. What I do know is he looks pretty badass, I have to say, minus the ear gauges. Never been a fan of the ear gauges on male type characters, but hey, let's not assume gender, shall we? But the artwork, I have to say, quite sharp, if I don't say so myself. I'm not huge on comic books. I don't know a lot about the comic book industry, but of what I've seen, you know, this looks like something. It looks very professional, is what I have to say. This definitely looks like something that, like, if you went to an actual shop, and this could easily, in other words, this could easily blend in terms of quality with, you know, the more mainstream type of stuff that I've seen. It's a great job, guys. Great job. Pretty badass shot. That is Torch. Reclaim the Skies. You got 10 days left, people. 10 days left on that campaign. All right, we got one more. Just a quick. This one's just a quick announcement for those of you who are unfamiliar. I covered Spoony Press. Spoony Press is a blog and also an indie press, small press company where they are focused on publishing work written by people who are, as they say, neurodivergent, or they are considered spoonies, which if you are unfamiliar with what a spoonie is, you can look that up on Google. I also had to do a little research myself the first time around when I covered Spoonie Press. They had a submission when I was covering a submission call for their website. And that was on an episode of Monday Night Live, and I got a real kick out of that one. If you look up the spoonie, what a spoonie is, and there's some charts. I covered an infographic of spoonies, and I did a little. I had a good time. It was a funny little bit that I did about spoonies and what that's all about. But they just want to announce. Let me see. I'm gonna bring up the announcement here. They reached out to me on Twitter. You can check them out. I'll be leaving their Twitter link, but also they wanted to announce that they have a link tree. So clearly they're branching out and they're trying to connect with more. They're making a concerted effort to connect with other, types of Spoonie Press publishes art and writing by disabled, chronically ill, and neurodivergent individuals in a biannual print journal and weekly magazine. So 2 different ways. We also have active Discord and Facebook groups, hence why they wanted to share their link tree with you guys. They're making, like I say, a concerted effort to branch out and see if they can't connect with more people who may be disabled, chronically ill, or neurodivergent individuals that are looking for opportunities to get their voices heard, if you will. And that's the announcements. I'm moving right along into the third but final segment for this live stream, where it is reading time. If you guys run a blog, you have your own blog that you write for, you publish, like I was talking about before. Like if you opening a blog is a great idea in terms of publishing some pieces, some samples, if you will, in order to build a readership. You can publish some short samples. You publish whether it be some poetry, flash fiction, essays, editorials. If you guys want me to read something from your blog during the live stream, that's all I need is a link to the article or previously mentioned source. And tonight, I believe I have a story, some flash fiction. I've been hoping to get some flash fiction. I've been reading some poetry. I've also read series. If you do like Kindle Vella, for instance, and you do episodic series of writing, serialized fiction, if you will. I'll read, like, if you want me to read the first episode of a series or something like that, I'll do something like that as well. But tonight, I believe this is a standalone piece. And this one comes from user by the name of Isa Forest Spirit on Twitter. She writes, "Hi, everyone. Here's a mythology-inspired fantasy romance short story. Free to read. Synopsis. The raven-haired pale enchantress enters the iron gates of Lord Macar's halls, So begins a love strong enough to melt even the darkest of hearts. Ooh, we'll have to see about that. Let's see if you can touch my coal black heart. Just kidding. Lord Macar, Lord Macar and Lady Moray by I Force Spirit. That's the Twitter handle, her Twitter handle, via her blog, isaforspiritstories.com. Isa for a spirit. Is she? Isa. Is that short for Isabella? Just wondering. All right. Here we go. Fantasy short stories, and falls under category of mythology. Lord Macar and Lady Moray by Isaphora Spirit. All was quiet in the dark halls when suddenly Lord Macar heard a raspy voice calling out his name. He stepped away from his throne and glided towards the iron gates. No horn blew as the Morkai guards stood in position, leaving little cause for alarm. He gazed towards the entrance where he noticed a dark hooded figure standing by the gates. Macar, my lord, please let me in, shouted the cloaked woman as she turned towards him from behind the gates. That wasn't so much a shout. He watched as the figure removed her hood, revealing a slender face of ivory skin, pale blue eyes, and raven black hair. Just my type. She looked too perfect to be mortal, though from her appearance he could tell she was no NI intrigued by her presence. Macar opened the gates. She was no NI. Intrigued by her presence, Macar opened the gates. Well, aren't you a sight for my sore eyes? He whispered softly as she approached. I am not used to visitors here in my realm. Where have you come from? He asked keenly. The lady responded, Your father, Lord Ifir, sent me. I wish to keep you company for a while, if you would let me in. Lord Macar smiled at her before responding. Indeed, yes. Welcome, fair lady, to my humble home. I have little to offer except my company, but I would be eternally grateful if you choose to stay. Humble home, but yet he has gates and guards. Interesting. Yes, I would like that. Thank you, she replied. What may I call you? He asked. I am darkness. I am a shadow. I am made of 1,000 tears. But you may call me Moray, she whispered and held out her hand towards his. My dear Moray, so kind of you to join me. It will be my pleasure to be your host, he whispered. Why so much whispering? My dear. If he was literally whispering, this is what it would sound like. She's whispering, he's whispering. If she was whispering, she would say, I am darkness. I am a shadow. but you may call me Moray. My dear Moray, so kind of you to join me. It will be my pleasure to be your host. I can't do the whispering. Too much whispering. Lord Makar swiftly took her hand and escorted her towards the halls. Each one was vast and cavernous, with bleak, jet-black stone walls and stalagmites. The lack of light did not seem to bother her, as they silently made their way through each room, over the sea of pale-faced spirits and Morkai guards. He led her towards the throne room and ordered his Morkai to bring her a seat. See, not how can you be humble living when you have a frickin' throne room? Perhaps he's a humble king or an oblivious king. In other words, he doesn't know how good he has it. Would you sit with me for a while? He asked. Moray nodded and sat on the throne placed beside Makar's own, and there she remained watching. Days went by as Lord Makar returned to his usual routine. Okay, hold on. Moray nodded and sat on the throne placed beside Makar's own, and there she remained watching. So now we got a time skip here. Days went by as Lord Makar returned to his usual routine. The Morkai would escort dead souls into the halls to await judgment. The Lord would listen and decide each individual's fate in turn. Most were condemned to remain within his halls, though occasionally his brother Attar would venture out and assemble a few dead warriors to ride with his Anai. At times, when it was quiet, Moray would sing to Makar. Her voice was low and soothing, so somber that it lulled condemned souls into a trance-like sleep. Yet to the Lord there was no sweeter music than the lore of her song. As the two became familiar, she asked him to remove his hood so she could see his face. Makar was reluctant to do this and explained, "My face is not a pretty sight, my lady. I do not wish to frighten you." "I am not afraid. There is nothing about your appearance that can scare me," Moray replied instantly. Thus she ordered the Morkai to fetch her a blazing torch. Suddenly she can just command his army or his guards. Flame in hand, Moray, I guess this is where the suspension of disbelief comes in. Flame in hand, Moray rested her palms inside the fire and cast a spell to extinguish it. She then spread her arms, causing the smoke to disperse in a circle around them. Sparkles of pallid light swirled, illuminating the ground below. As the light settled, Makar removed his hood, revealing his scarred face and damaged nose. Much to his surprise, Lady Moray was neither frightened nor disgusted by his appearance. She simply smiled at him and touched his face while stroking his dark hair. "My pale enchantress," Makar whispered, and smiled at her before they shared a kiss. He wrapped his arms around her. There they stood, listening to each other breathe. Oh, how he wanted that moment to last. Yet soon the horns sounded again, the smoke vanished, and they returned to their seats. A few days later, he asked her if she wished to stay. "I want nothing more than to have you by my side. Will you marry me?" he whispered, holding his hand out towards her. See, a lot of whispering going on here. Could just say said. Yes, I will, she replied, smiling. In all haste, Lord Makar asked his mother, the Lady of the Skies, to carry out the ceremony. Ma! Hey, Ma! The following day, a bright glow filled the halls. In answer, Lord Makar pulled a hood over his face and held his eyes shut. The light still stung his soft face, and he shrieked in pain. Yet Moray positioned herself before him to help shield from its glare. As the golden-haired, I feel like I might be missing a little bit in terms of backstory or in terms of lore as to what exactly is going on here and what's the explanation behind these lights and horns and also the souls in this throne. So I guess, you know, there's more to these perhaps this is a standalone short story, but there's more to the story than meets the eye, is what I'm trying to say. As the golden-haired Era Gragia entered the hall, unaccustomed to this much light, the Morkai crawled towards the dark corners of the room, while the souls of the dead turned to face her. Please stop this, mother. The lights are too much. I cannot see, Makar cried out. Oh, my poor boy, forgive me. It has been so long since last I saw you, Era Gragia uttered gently. She whispered a spell, causing the brightness to fade from the room. It is gone now, my love. You may open your eyes, Moray said softly as she touched his face. Slowly, Makar opened his eyes and took in the darkness. His mother finally approached him and they embraced. May I introduce my beloved Lady Moray? He announced. I am pleased to meet you, my dear. Any woman able to bring a smile to my son's face is a blessing, Era Gragia professed. Eagerly, she held out her arms, and the two goddesses embraced. I have brought a gift from your father, she continued, and held up a pale flamed blue lamp. It is the faintest light we could find anywhere in the skies. Such a small flame will never hurt your eyes. Makar gladly took the lamp and ordered the Morkai to place it behind the twin thrones. Quickly doing his bidding, they moved the light into place. Then his mother held out her hand, revealing two golden rings inlaid with black onyx stones. Here are the rings you requested. Your brother, Fieri, sends his regards and wishes you well, she declared as she offered him the shining rings. Makar examined them for a time before responding, They're perfect. Tell Fieri of my gratitude. I am forever in his debt. You should tell him yourself someday. Many times he has offered you welcome and suggested you visit him if you wish, answered his mother. You know very well why I am unable to leave my realm, Makar explained. Era Gragia was left to sigh in response when Makar offered her a seat. She refused. Instead, she had a look around the bleak halls for a while. I will not stay long, she stated. I know how busy you are. I will never understand how you can live in such a wretched place. Let us proceed. Makar and Moray returned to their thrones, and Era Gragia returned to face them. My Dearly beloved, my dearly beloved, I have come here today to join these two immortal souls in holy matrimony. Will you, Makar, take Lady Moray to be your lawfully wedded wife? She asked. I do. From this day, I shall be yours for all eternity, whispered Makar, smiling at his bride. Aragragia now turned to face Moray. And will you, Lady Moray, take Makar to be your lawfully wedded husband? I will, she responded and turned to face Makar. From this day, I shall be yours for all eternity. Instinctively, they exchanged rings. I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride, the goddess declared. Aragragia smiled as her son kissed and embraced his new wife. Thank you, mother. Is there any way that I may repay you for this kindness? Makar questioned, a smile still etched on his face. It was pleasure, my dear, always. Aragragia responded. All I ask is that you grant me one noble soul to release from your halls. One soul you may take, but no more, he decreed. So the Sky Queen walked through each hall, appraising a sea of pale faces, when finally she stopped in front of a young mother clutching wordlessly to a newborn baby. These two here, what was their story? She asked. The Lady of Sorrows eyed the lost souls before responding. The Lady of Sorrows eyed the lost souls before responding. She was a beggar who died giving birth to a stillborn son. Such suffering is too much for any woman to bear. May I have them? Aragragia asked. Makar shook his head in answer. I promised you one soul, not two. You may take the child or the mother, but not both. Aragragia sighed before responding. If that is your will, I shall take the infant. As you wish. First, he must be cleansed. Makar snatched the infant from the mother's arms. Then he instructed his Morkai to fetch some water and a bowl. Do you wish to assist me, my dear? Makar asked his wife. Moray nodded in response. Makar handed her the infant's soul, and Moray proceeded to wash him in the water before entrusting him back to her husband. Makar placed a hand on the infant's head and shouted, Asos, son of Elah, I hereby grant you pardon and I release you from my realm. The child's body suddenly lit up in a pale flame. The ritual complete, Makar handed the baby to his mother. There, Aragragia held the child in her arms, rocking it gently. The couple watched in awe as it took a breath and began to cry. My sweet little one, you are safe now. Never again shall you feel hunger or cold. Sleep now, Aragragia whispered, swaying the baby in her arms. Goodbye, my son. I came this day for a special occasion, though I cannot return to this pitiful realm. If you come across any more noble souls, please deliver them to me. Aragragia uttered her final words before vanishing in a bolt of bright light. Goodbye, mother, Makar replied, once the light had fled from the room. He then joined Moray, and together they returned to their thrones to await the next soul to enter their kingdom. And there he is. No nose, I suppose. interesting story. Interesting in the sense that I'm curious about some of the lore here. I mean, the event itself was not exactly enthralling. It's clearly just almost like this is just more of a vignette or a chapter, what would be like a chapter in a much larger story taking place here. But it does sort of pique your interest for why certain things are happening in the scene. For instance, the souls. Where are the souls coming from? What is Makar's role in this realm? Are we in the underworld? You know, it raises some questions. But good job. Thank you for contributing to the show, Izza. And I will be linking her Twitter as well as her blog down below if you wish to check out some of the other short stories or short pieces of fiction that she's published on her blog. And that is the show for this week, people. Let me know what you thought down below if you're interested. And if you're a writer or a reader, you are welcome to join me. A live broadcast every Monday night. You want something to do, a place to hang out? You want to just come chill with me while I put on the show? You can be a part of the show and participate in the chat as well. And I'll be here next Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. Have a good one.